inspired to pivot. Not to, oh, I'm just not going to do it. I pivoted. I was like, you know what? I am not aligned with what I'm doing right now. And so it's not that I'm not comfortable. I'm uncomfortable, right? Because I'm unaligned. And so it's burning me out in a way where my body, my spleen, was getting poisoned. Like it was bad. And so I had to pivot because my body had already told me we're not locked in with this. But I even think about the sentiment behind pivoting, right? People who don't want to pivot, who are in survival mode, or they pivot extremely hard thinking that they'll never have to pivot again. Wrong. I've heard this a lot. I've heard this sentiment kind of projected on Facebook, and I'm like, that's not how that goes. You don't, when you pivot once, right? So that you can keep pivoting. Let me give you so if you're not used to challenge, how do you know? Okay. If you're not used to challenge, how do you know if it's just difficult or unaligned? Okay, so one of the things, when something is just difficult, right, it's typically not that you can't do it, right? There's just some type of barrier within yourself. When you're unaligned and you're doing something, it will affect your body. It will affect your internal system. You and your gut, not really your nervous system, yes, your nervous system, but other parts of your body, your immune system, right, will be in battle with one another. Because because you're doing something that your body is rejecting, and in order to continue to do it, you would almost have to detach yourself from your vessel completely, right? Which is extremely dangerous when your mind and your body are not connected, when you've separated them, right? In order to keep doing something that your body is like, I'm not with it. I can't do it. I'm not doing this, right? Now, when you're being challenged, what comes up is fear, right? It's your nervous system's kind of like, oh shit, we've never done this before, right? It's a very common feeling because it comes up every time you try something new, right? And your mind or your nervous system is kind of like, holy shit, we've never done this before. I don't have any data. I can't protect you from this. I've never seen you do this. I don't know, are we going to fall on our face, right? This is kind of what happens when you're about to do something challenging, or you're doing something for the first time. Or let's say you've been doing something for a while and a challenge comes up, right? Depending on what it is, I don't believe you lose inspiration. If anything, that difficulty factor that comes up, you're not going against your immune system, right? You may be going against maybe laziness, maybe complacency, right? Maybe some type of old pattern or old, old way of kind of maybe handling your day, right? Oh, hi, Simon. Hello. Hey. That is the difference between being unaligned and challenged, right? When you are unaligned, it is far more dangerous to continue to do a thing, right? Because if you do not heed to the call, your body will do something to force you to heed to the call, right? You don't want to be in that type of battle with your body, because it will do something to force you to let go of what is no longer aligned. Versus if you are just going up against a challenge and something that, maybe you enjoy doing or you've been doing or whatever, and it's not killing you, right? You will not have to go against your immune system. You won't have to go against your body's internal systems that keep you protected, right? Exactly. Unless of course you're doing something new, and in that case, it's what will probably spike is like your cortisol levels, right? A little bit of fear, a little bit of anxiety, because you don't have a record of doing this before. But that is the difference. I'm so glad you asked that. That was a great question. I kind of documented all of these times, right? Eventually, when you do this enough, you start to memorize a pattern. There's a pattern in everything. But yeah, that's the difference. I hope that, did that make sense? Hope that made sense. I honestly, I really love that question. Right? Oh, the pattern, the pattern can be mixed. Okay, good. The pattern can be definitely painful. I have, been in an environment in which I was unaligned. And what it will feel like is a disintegration between the mind and the body, right? So maybe the mind abandons the body for a little while. It just kind of takes a back seat, and your body is just kind of doing the motions, the movements, right? Or if it is a, I don't want to say a toxic environment, but if there's pressure added to whatever you're doing that your body is already unaligned with, that's when there's a breaking down of systems in your body, right? That's when it's like your immune system starts attacking parts of you, right, that it's not supposed to be attacking. That's when shit starts breaking down. But right, so that's when you got to kind of ask yourself, like, is what I'm doing worth it? Is this shit worth it? Right? And then you couple that with the fact that, okay, if nobody's coming to save me, if I break down, right, then why am I still doing this? Yeah. Why am I still here? So in that question that you ask yourself, you kind of, it's a mirror, you and you talking to you, just kind of like, nobody is coming to save me if I end up in a hospital. What the hell am I doing? Right? Those questions will only come up when you are extremely unaligned with what you are doing. Versus a challenge, I mean, there's challenges in everything. There's challenges in living, hell. All the curveballs that get thrown at you throughout the day, and you just kind of learn how to, pivot, dodge, slip. No, but it's not supposed to cause an inner destruction within your body, right? It's not supposed to affect your womb, right? That's how you know you're unaligned, is when you start developing cysts and stuff in the womb, because whatever you're doing is going against your cycle. That's another really big indication. But it's usually the breaking down of internal systems, physical, bodily systems that are supposed to keep you, that are supposed to support you, right, in your everyday life. But I think I was thinking about people who are complaining about people with disposable income, right, who can do kind of whatever they want with their income, and what they choose to invest in is expansion beyond where they are, right? I wasn't going to go into this because this is still a rough draft in my head, but I was thinking about this spiritual teacher who I came across on TikTok, and I am learning, I believe I'm going to start going into the etymology of words, because the ways in which we are using it, I believe, is keeping us trapped in this 3D realm, right? Because we're using words that we don't understand. For example, awake, right? I've tried to pivot and realize that most of the problem was all exactly. Yes, subconscious controls 95% of what you do, while the conscious only controls 5%. Insane, right?